Welcome to Warren and Will's Wild Wine Reviews. I am Warren.
I'm Will.
And these are our wild wine reviews. Today we are going to be doing La Giaretta's Amarone. So according to Vivino, this particular wine has a 4.3 rating with 353
That's amazing.
People rating it, yep. And an average price of $42.99.
Okay.
Now, when I purchased this, I thought I was buying my very favorite Amarone in the world, which is Quadreti, which is made by the same vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
It's their Reserva. This is the non-Reserva.
The
I couldn't
Classico.
believe the great price I was getting on Quadreti when I ordered 6 bottles of it. Now, that said, I paid the correct price for this particular wine.
Right.
So I'm not going to name the seller. I'm not going to complain about it. I drank. This is the 6th bottle. I enjoyed them all. But Quadreti is a sublime experience.
He thought he was getting a bargain. Instead, he was getting a really good wine at the exact price that it was designed for. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they lied in the listing to sell it because everybody wants a Quadreti. Yep. But it is made by the same people. It is wonderful. Yeah. We're about to pour it. What time is it? Our time right now, it is 7:46. So this has been decanting for an hour and 46 minutes.
That's awesome.
So let's
have at
light
it.
this candle.
And just looking at the color immediately, Amarones normally have, just by their very nature, a bricky red sort of color.
Yep, they look old.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they're young.
They look old even when they're young. And mine
that is a fantastic nose.
Ooh, a lot of things going on here. The first thing I get is Herbal Character. Yep. Like a tobacco, pipe tobacco. Some
cherry and vanilla pipe tobacco on top to really nail it down.
Yeah, it's an interesting mixture.
My great uncle actually used to smoke that when I was a child. I remember sitting at his feet. Mm-hmm. When the eagle landed and he was puffing on his pipe. So we've got Neil Armstrong saying the eagle has landed, and my great uncle, my mom's uncle, puffing away. I'm at my great grandmother's house. The whole family's there. Yeah, and so I've always associated pipe tobacco with a space program. And that is what it is. So
I associate pipe tobacco. I associate pipe tobacco with. I don't know if it was one guy or several guys, but the Bateau Festival on the James River in Scottsville, it was in the summertime, and there would be at least one guy, maybe several, smoking pipes. And I would always ask my dad, like, what's that great smell? And he was like, pipe tobacco? I was like, that thing that we can smell right now.
Pipe tobacco.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful
it's funny because
aroma.
I was somewhere with my daughter who's going to turn 18 next month. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that smell right there. She's like, I said, that's pipe tobacco. She's like, I've always wondered. She'd never smelled it. And I realized that I hadn't smelled it anywhere that I was with her in the last 17 years.
I smelled it on the streets of Floyd the other night. I was crossing the street from the parking lot to Dogtown, and I caught a whiff of it. And it's just the smell is one of the most powerful senses in terms of its nostalgia.
Memory. Yes. I mean, the earliest memory I have was of finger painting, and finger paints. The smell of finger paints will bring that memory of when I was 2 years old doing fingerprints in daycare. Yep. I mean, it'll come right back to me so hard.
For me, it was Play-Doh. Okay. That's one of the early scents that I remember.
So as I was saying, this is made by the same people who make Quadreti. And if you can get your hands on a Quadreti. Yes. It doesn't matter what year it is, it's fantastic. They spend 2 years in French oak. Yep. This says that it is aged for 2 years. It says it's in subsequent refinement in the bottle. Yeah, whatever the hell that might mean.
Well, the thing is they're probably aging some in new oak and some in neutral oak, and so there's no necessarily any particular regimen. Because the thing is, you don't get. But
this is still
normally
really good.
You do not get pipe tobacco without new oak.
Right. That makes
However,
sense.
My guess is if they were using only new oak, they'd probably tell us. So my guess is they're probably using some kind of.
Oh, I'm sure they would tell us if that's all there is.
Some percentage.
They make it very clear they're only using new French oak with the Quadreti.
Exactly.
So
but they have to be using some because of that pipe tobacco component. There may be some grape out there that carries pipe tobacco as an organoleptic component.
But there's a lot of vanilla, and that only comes from oak.
It does only come from oak.
I'm sure they didn't inject any any liquid smoke.
No,
and liquid smoke doesn't really give you that vanilla flavor.
No,
anyway.
it's over the top oakiness. This is more subtle than that.
And this changes as it ages. I can assure you that I've had 6 bottles of it. This is my 6th bottle.
I knew a guy who was an assistant winemaker and lab assistant at Chateau, and I think he went on to become a winemaker at Liberty Vineyards here in Virginia. I don't know if he's still there, but his name was Ben Margulies, and Ben had one of the best palates I've ever run across, not just in terms of the flavors that he could spot, but Ben could accurately determine the percentage of new oak and neutral oak.
That I can't do.
No, and it was really interesting.
I'm not a winemaker.
It was really interesting to watch because he was very offhand about it. He was not super robotic or analytical about it. He would just taste and be like, "Oh yeah, it seems like that's about like 60-40 new and neutral." And I would go and look it up, and he would be right.
Yeah, it's kind of like talking with John Boyer, who I mentioned before from the Wine Lab.
Yes.
And he'll say, "Oh, you guys all have much better palates than I do," and then he'll sip it and he'll just be spitting it all out. And you're like, holy crap! This guy nails it.
I used to tell him to stop being falsely modest with
and
me.
I've done that to him the last couple of times that I've seen. I'm like, dude, who are you kidding? I mean, I've got a good palate, but you are a pro.
Well,
the guy teaches wine at Virginia Tech.
Yes.
And he owns the best wine bar I've ever walked into.
It's part of his shtick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make people feel good.
We love you,
John.
John.
Those of us with a really good palate know he's full of it because we know how good his palate is.
Yes. We know he's full of it when he says he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He
is not full of it when it comes to wine.
Right.
He knows exactly what he's talking about. Yeah. No, I used to write down things, Boyer, because I always took notes about everything because I was a sommelier and I needed to be able to go back. And if we really liked something and we're thinking about revisiting it later, it would be one of those things that I would put a bunch of checks and stars next to and be like, okay, we can revisit this when we have more money or we're covering that region or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would also write down the things Boyer said because they were hilarious. And he would be walking past a wine.
Look up Plat Avenger. That's Boyer.
Yes.
It's interesting.
He invented a persona to teach his... it wasn't the wine class.
No, it was his political science class.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
his political science, I'm telling you, right on it. Nails it.
But he invented a pulp comic
character. If you're
character.
deeply conservative, don't go there.
He invented a pulp character named the Plat Avenger, who was kind of his alter ego. And it's a really good lesson in the Kurt Vonnegut, we are who we pretend to be, so we have to be careful, because he became the Plaid Avenger.
He's got a plaid square, cube, whatever it's called. Drives it around,
Honda Fit or whatever
We've
it is.
mentioned that before.
Yep.
We like John, that's why he keeps coming up.
I saw his plaid cube in Floyd one time. I did
too. He delivers wine. He will deliver
that's right,
wine.
That's right, he does.
Yep.
Yeah. I figured it had to be something like that.
Personally, I wouldn't do it in my own. If I'm the CEO of a company, I'd send one of my employees, but that's me.
To imitate Boyer, it's fine.
I know, but I hire, every now and then I've been I've had issues with people like, well, I don't want to do it that way. And I'm like, I know you don't, but that causes me more work. And I hired you so I would have less work.
It was always really empowering when Boyer would do that with me because I was really used in the wine world to having bosses that looked down on me, would give me something to do. And the working for Boyer was the first time I ever had a boss in the wine world. The only time I ever had a boss in the wine world. I said, I went ahead and ordered 4 cases of this wine. I realized I probably should have run it by you. And he was like, well, how much is that? I was like, it's like $6-7 a bottle. Yeah. And he put his hands on my shoulder. He said, Will, I trust you. Your judgment's good. And I didn't start crying, but I kind of internally did.
I will always listen to what any way that the people who work for me want to work.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't cost me more work, they get to do it the way they want. But the minute it starts impinging on the amount of time I have to spend at my job, then that ends because I'm not paying them to make my job longer.
He basically rubber stamped 80-90% of what I wanted to do because most of it was he was like, you don't need to ask me that stuff that has been on the back burner for so long. It really
we've talked about it. Yeah.
But I'm the kind of person that's like, I really don't want something to bite me later, so I would ask him and be like, hey, are you sure?
I prefer the people who ask me a lot of questions to the ones, ask me a lot of questions that you probably know the answers to, and I'm wasting my time answering them, sure.
Right.
But it's way better than finding out this thing happened that just cost me $100,000 that I never ran by me.
Well, what I would do is I would have stuff ready to go, but not launched, and I would basically be like, here's a list of things that I basically just need you to be like yes to all of them, and he would be like, yep. And so they'd be ready to launch.
All right, so giving you a little more information about this wine. The vineyard was founded in the late 50s in the heart of
Valpolicella.
Valpolicella.
Yep.
Founded by Bruno Veona, I hope.
Wow, only in the 50s.
Only in the 50s. This tastes like somebody who's been doing it for 200 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is an Amarone de Valpolicella Classico.
Yep.
It's these are obtained from the best grapes, unless of course you want to make the next step up, the Quadreti, and then I guess you take the even better grapes. I don't know. And they left and this, as their write up on their website says, left to wither on the wooden grids and pressed in January. Now, if you live in America, you think January. Ooh, that's the middle. No, that's not the middle of the winter for them.
Not in the Mediterranean.
Not in the Mediterranean. That's when winter is just thinking about. That's autumn.
Yeah. Well, and also
Ireland's 2 months off from
us. The winters down there just aren't like the winters in America.
Oh hell no! I mean, I spent 3 months in. I was in the heart of the winter. I was in. I was 400 miles off the coast.
Yeah.
In Malta. But it never got below 55.
Now the nights. Not in Malta.
No, not even at night.
I was thinking of Ireland. In Ireland, the thing.
In Ireland you can get down to 30. It snowed twice while I was in the 6 months I lived there.
But
none of it. Spent
it's mainly that the nights are short, the nights are long. The days are short.
Well, that depends when you're there, because
I know, but like around
the summer,
right? No.
You've got 4 hours of dark.
No, I know. I was talking about the winter in Ireland.
Yeah, it gets dark early and stays dark.
There's a reason that alcoholism is higher at northern latitudes. Is that you have 6 months of winter.
SADS.
Yeah, exactly.
Seasonal affective disorder.
But also it's when the sun comes up at 9 or 10 in the morning and goes down at 4 in the afternoon.
It's tough.
And it also becomes disorienting because at 6 o'clock it feels like it's 10, and at 10 o'clock it feels like it's 2 in the morning.
See, I want to be there on the solstice. I want to be there when the sun comes up at 5 and doesn't go down till 11.
I was there on the solstice.
What was that like?
Disorienting because I had jet lag, and it seemed like there wasn't really much of a night. And so, like, I was trying to get to sleep, but, like, we're with circadian rhythm. When light starts pouring in your window, you're gonna start. I mean, I can fall back asleep really easily, but it becomes jarring because it feels like you just went to bed and you're waking up, like, because I go to bed late, 11, midnight maybe, and so like 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock, there's sun coming through my window. And so it's just like, okay, like I must have been asleep for 8 hours. Look at my phone. I've been asleep for, 4 hours. And it's like, okay, I should go back to bed. But by 8 o'clock, it's almost like noon would be here.
I'm going to spend most of July in Ireland this year. And I'm really looking forward to it. Have lots of sunlight.
Once I got over the jet lag, it was really, really neat because I got my cousins threw me a potluck at my cousin Mary Rose's house. And I'd been touring Dublin all day. So I was getting home probably like 8 o'clock. Maybe.
Wonderful city, not a wine city, but a wonderful. That's good.
It was a really fun city, really friendly city, very hospitable. So I got in around 8 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock, one of the things I love about Ireland is you could drink with the people there, and it wasn't like America. It's like you could be drinking constantly, but people didn't get drunk, and it partially was the amount that they were drinking, and part of it is just
lower alcohol.
Lower alcohol, but also I think mentality has a lot.
5%.
Mentality has a lot to do with it. If you're setting out to get drunk versus setting out to have a good time.
Americans are swilling it, and they're taking their time sipping and talking.
They're taking their time and lots of food too.
Yeah, lots of food.
But I remember it was 10 o'clock and the sun was still up.
Yep.
It was late evening and the sun was still in the sky.
I'm looking forward
like
to that because I was there.
Oh no, it was gorgeous.
I was there for Christmas, and for the portion of the year before that. I went in August, and now I'll be going in July. But so going back to that, we're mentioning that they harvest them in January. Then, according to the notes they are left all winter to dry until they turn into raisins. Yeah. And then 120 days that takes this to occur, the grapes will lose 30 to 40% of their weight. This results in intense concentration and very high sugar content.
Does it ever? Because this is 16.
They say 15 or higher percent. This
16.5.
Yep.
Which is ridiculous for a European wine. In America, seeing 16.5. So it takes
twice as much fruit to make a bottle of this as an American wine.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, if you get a chance,
or even a bottle of the
Valpolicella.
Right. It takes half as much wine to make those.
Yeah, no,
I don't know about the Ripasso, which is the one in between, where they run the Valpolicella wine through
the yeast
and through the skins, and
even
some of the leaves.
Yeah.
And then they create. I mean, I love that wine as well. Not as much as I like Amarone, but it's a wonderful wine.
Valpolicella is a really interesting region because you have 3 types of wine made from the same 3 grapes. Molinara, Rondinella, and Corvina are the 3 grapes of the Valpolicella region. And you can get a Valpolicella, and it's a lighter-bodied red wine. It's kind of, I would say it's an equivalent to like the garden variety Bordeaux or Chiantis, not in terms of flavor, but in terms of the overall feel on the palate.
You can't get me into a Chianti if you paid me.
We're not talking about flavor. We're talking, but the thing is, Valpolicella would still be pretty light for you. It's a lighter, it's a lighter bodied red wine.
Lighter. I like them, but they're lighter.
Then you have Ripasso, which, as you said, you take just a regular Valpolicella, and when they're done fermenting one of these
There's
Amarones,
a lot of juice left, and they pick it up.
And you leave. What happens is when you bottle a wine, it's a gravity drain. You have a steel tank, and you basically just let gravity do all the work for you. You siphon the wine out and run it through the bottling line. What you have at the bottom of the tank when you've emptied the wine out,
2 feet or so.
Yeah, just a solid mass of skins and dead yeast cells. Yep. It's a nasty looking mixture. But they take a Valpolicella wine, throw it on top of that.
Then drain it through.
Yeah,
and some of it with it.
Did they let it
some
sit?
Of the character. I don't know if they let it sit.
Yeah, I don't know really.
If I'd known you were going to ask the question, I would have known the answer, but I didn't know.
I assume they leave it for like a little while. But ripasso means passed through or passed again, and what they're just doing is just pulling that wine. It's like taking a cup of coffee and putting it on top of pre-existing coffee grounds and then straining it again. You're getting kind of a double dose.
And I've done that when I had really crappy coffee.
Yeah.
And I put it on top of I ran out of coffee and I was somewhere with the family.
Yeah.
And the day before we'd made wonderful coffee that I brought.
Yeah.
And now we had Folgers.
Right.
So I took the Folgers and put it right on top of the old
So you made a Ripasso.
So I made a Ripasso coffee. And it was, I can't drink Folgers, but this was passable because it had passed
I'm trying to make a portmanteau of espresso and Ripasso, but my brain is failing me.
So the other thing they say about this is that at least 2 years of aging and subsequent refinement in a bottle results in a ruby red wine with an intense bouquet of cherries and preserved Morello cherries in alcohol with a robust body and particularly well-balanced flavor. I would agree with it's well-balanced. I don't know what a Morello cherry is.
I don't either. I know Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
I know what a Morello... no, it's morel.
Oh, right, the mushrooms.
The mushrooms, because they're out in my forest.
This might have been ruby red when they bottled it. I'd put it closer to brick.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's got a little bit more hint of red than brick, but
this is only 5 years old.
Exactly. That's the.
And it should be the one you can still get. We'll have links to this one for you as well.
I have to assume that a lot of the color component of this has to do with the drying, because that I don't like you said they dry them for months. That has to affect the color chemicals that are in the grapes.
Yes, it does, yeah.
But no.
Although I'm not seeing, when I look at this, I'm not seeing any debris. So I don't think that the tannins have not bound with the pigments.
The other thing is that the Italians, I think more so than the French, understand that the American mindset is incredibly there's a big antipathy towards tartrates. You can cold stabilize.
It's great. It looks like in the reds, it looks like red sugar. In the whites, it just looks like sugar. It's not sugar, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and don't eat it. It's not pleasant.
It's not.
But
I made that mistake early on.
Right. Yeah. No, there's something harmful about it. But Americans really don't like it. Part of it is just the unpleasantness of getting in your mouth unexpectedly. The other part is that
it's like coffee grounds.
Yeah, the other part is that there's this American mindset of is there something wrong with this? Because weird thing is when a wine matterizes, if it cooks long enough, you will actually start to get big tannin. Like they're not like the tartrates. They're more like little pieces of leaf.
Right.
But they come out of solution and they form these little particles in a wine. There's only one time that I've seen that happen. And it was the opinion of the other guy at Vintage Cellar and me, Martin, that the wine had been left in some insanely hot warehouse, and the wine had actually basically matterized, which means that's when you stay at 100 degrees for several weeks or more.
And this is the thing we've talked about, or will talk about. I've got a wine we're going to taste in the next week or two that I got for $25 a bottle, because what happened is it got put away in the side somewhere and they forgot they had it. It's it's like a 2012, so maybe they didn't have a computer system then.
Right.
I don't know, but they forgot they had it, and so suddenly they discovered a couple cases of it, and they didn't know if it was any good.
Right.
So they put it. It's $100 a bottle if you get one made in the last couple of years. They were selling it for $25. Now I threw it in just to fill out an order.
Right.
And then I got it, and I didn't finish the first glass before I owned every single bottle they had.
Have we had that one together?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
The one that
it was
with your dad.
That's right. Yes. Oh my gosh.
It was fantastic. And I got what should have been a $100 bottle, probably should have been a $200 bottle, because it was almost 20 years old, and they didn't know, because they didn't know how well it had stored. It was just forgotten.
You can cold and heat stabilize a wine. They will tell you, and it's still correct, and it's still a good idea to not expose your wine to great extremes in temperature. That being said, a lot of wineries that have access to modern equipment both cold and heat stabilize their wine. I don't remember what the heat stabilization process involves, but basically, when you don't heat stabilize a wine at certain extreme heats, it
starts breaking down. And
in red wines in specific, there are actual proteins in the wine, and those can denature, and the wine will turn cloudy. And it will also taste funky. Yeah. Cold stabilization is literally just a way of saying that we got all the excess tartrate crystals out of it. What you do is you bring the wine down to about like 33 degrees, like just above freezing, and all of the
which is lower than 33 for wine, by the way. But
that's true. But if you bring it down to between 33 and 40 degrees, all of the excess tartrate crystals will drop out of solution, and you can filter them out.
Right.
Pretty much all American wineries will cold stabilize their wine. You'd be hard pressed to find outside of farm wineries, small scale wineries.
No, I see the tartrates. Wow, far more often in foreign wines than in American wines.
Exactly.
Because Americans are just freaking finicky.
Yes.
I would see like fruit and vegetables for sale in Europe that would never sell in America. And what I found was a lot of them taste better because when they're just a little overripe, they're better than when they're, we got to sell them before they're ripe in America, because if there's any discolor, any bruise,
we freak out.
We
What's
don't
wrong
buy
with it?
that.
Does it have a disease?
And as it turns out, that sometimes you wait just a little longer, the food's better.
Yeah.
It's aging like wine.
Well, and also sometimes it doesn't even mean anything. Sometimes it's just, that thing got bumped while it was growing, and that
it's
part,
a bruise. It's no big deal.
Colored differently, yeah.
You just cut it off and use it.
Yep.
And I found that food just basically tastes better in Europe.
I remember when I was
a kid, we're too worried about presentation and we will
style over substance.
Breed things for presentation at the sacrifice of taste.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as a super taster, I don't want you to breed things at the sacrifice of taste. Because when I taste something that's got things it doesn't need, I don't enjoy it. Most people don't have that issue. My wife, will often say, well, you didn't like it because you can taste this stuff other people can't. Thank you for being with us.
Sláinte.
Again, think of us as your drinking buddies and come on back. Hopefully, shortly, I know it probably won't be next week, but it'll be soonish. We'll start telling you what wines we're going to do so you can go try to find that wine and drink it with us. And you can tell us if you think we're out of our minds for our tasting notes, or how we got there, what made us think that, and we will happily correspond with you about
and tell
why
us, and also suggest things.
Yeah, we want to know. Tell us the wines you want us to try
now. We can't promise to try all of them, but we will do our best.
We'll certainly do our best. Right now, we're just drinking out of my cellar.
Right.
That's what we're doing. I've got, almost 100 wines in the cellar, and we're just going through the wines that I've got. And partially, I've been buying them thinking, oh, this will be a good one to review.
Right.
So it's not just drinking my wines, although it is.
Right.
But, it's fun.
It is fun.
Keep joining us. I hope you're having as good a time as we are. I mean, probably we talk too much, but
they won't know that.
Well, we've always said that's who we are. What we're doing is these are our launching points. This wine, we're not so much just reviewing the wine. We're doing that.
Yes.
And every time that we do a new wine, when we launch the video, I'm going to condense down what
right.
Will and I had to say and do a Vivino review, and then have a link from the Vivino review to the video, so you can see the whole conversation. And this is what, I mean, Will and I would talk like this without anybody here, without a camera doing
Generally speaking, we're generally speaking.
Yeah, generally speaking, we are totally speaking.
So, you've been great.
We're terrible at saying
You've
goodbye.
been great. We've been Will and Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Come on back next week. We will be here. Love you. Bye.